I don't know how you win an election 78 years old, screaming in a microphone about the revolution. I don't know if he was actually screaming at the time, although it's very possible, knowing James. But so I want to give you a chance to respond.
Look, James, in all due respect, is a political hack who said very terrible things when he was working for Clinton against Barack Obama. I think he said some of the same things.
This is why 2020 is going to be a hell of a time. Well, as we see here right now, the Democratic Party is doing what we like to call fracturing, which most other people like to call the same way. And herein lies the issue. James Carville is a very well-respected, even if you don't like his politics, he doesn't seem like a socialist, and he's not. But here we go. This is from The Hill. Carville fires back at Sanders for hack slam. At least I'm not a communist. That's true. James Carville is a lot of things, but he's not a socialist or a communist. Like this guy right here. James Carville fired back at Comrade Bernie Sanders for calling him a political hack, calling the self-described Democratic Socialist a communist. The back and forth follows a week in which Carville has repeatedly sounded the alarm about potential Sanders matchup against President Trump in November, calling the scenario the end of days for the Democratic Party, while referring to Sanders supporters as a cult. Well, he's not far off. I don't agree with a lot of things that James Carville says, but this one I do actually have to agree with him. Democratic Socialists are, in fact, a cult. Continuing on, Sanders returned fire on Wednesday night during an interview with CNN's Anderson Cooper, arguing that political hack Carville represents the establishment his campaign is running against. James, in all due respect, is a political hack, Sanders said, or screeded. We are taking on Trump, the Republican establishment, Carville, and the Democratic establishment. But at the end of the day, the grassroots movement that the people are putting together of young people, of working people, of people of color, want real change. And there you have it. This is not about having the Democrats win the presidency. No. This right here is all about democratic socialism eking its way into the United States. And we see it right now. Here we see it right here. Bernie Sanders is a goddamn communist, and he wants to overthrow the United States, well, through the electoral system. But then once he gets in, it's all over for the United States. Now, I know what you're going to say. No, it's not. There's Second Amendment. No, it doesn't matter. The point is that people aren't going to rise up that quick, okay, if this chucklehead gets in. And when he does get in, if he ever does, it's going to be coffin nails for the United States. Carville, who worked as a campaign strategist for President Clinton, escalated the feud Thursday on Snapchat with former CNN reporter Peter Hamby. Quoting here from him. Last night on CNN, Bernie Sanders called me a political hack, Carville said. That's exactly who the F I am. I'm a political hack. I'm not an ideologue. I'm not a purist. He thinks that's a pejorative. I kind of like it. At least I'm not a communist. Trump also referred to Sanders as a communist. I think he's a communist. I mean, you now look, I think of communism when I think of Bernie, Trump said in an interview with Fox News host John Hannity for the Super Bowl. Sanders dismissed Trump's comment a week later in an interview with Chris Wallace on Fox News Sunday. Obviously, I'm not a communist, Sanders said, adding that maybe Trump doesn't know the difference. You said you're a democratic socialist, but socialism, all it is a stage before communism. So what's the point here, Bernie? And by the way, Bernie Sanders, is he really a man of the people? Oh, yes, he's a man of the people. This is from Hank Thomas, D.C., a nervous democratic socialist in first class. Hashtag feel the burn. There you go. He's in first class, but he's a man of the people. Here's a pic of American Eagle first class on the Embraer ERJ 175. Much less interesting when unoccupied. Link to seat map. Okay. Thomas, the CEO of Strategic Cyber Ventures, appears to be sitting at least one row in front of Sanders on the other side of the aisle, a nervous democratic socialist in first class. The image of Sanders, who often rails against the 1%, has been shared more than 12,000 times and received 40,000 likes on Twitter. Thomas also posted a picture of a spacious, empty first-class cabin of an American Eagle plane, believed to be the same model that he and Sanders flew. This 70-year-old Sanders was ridiculed by some users, including one who wrote, "Can you imagine that scared little weasel as leader of the free world? He looks so sneaky and feeble." And then you get some pictures. Others criticized Thomas and came to the defense of the front-running Democrat. Of course they have. What I see here is a nervous venture capitalist worried that he will soon be taxed fairly so that others can be able to live past 35. Thomas, who hails from Washington, D.C., has 4,000 Twitter followers, tried to clear the air today. For the record, I have no ill will against Senator Sanders or her political beliefs. You piece of crap. You bent the knee, dirtbag. The intention was for humorous discourse. The photo is 100% authentic. Our country is far too polarized. A follow-up tweet was pinned to Thomas's profile. I'm voting for the guy willing to sit in the middle seat. Probably a couple bodyguards and advisors. Sanders, often referred to as a socialist who regularly blasts the wealthy, was also scrutinized for flying first class on a flight over the summer. The Vermont senator suffered a heart attack last year but is said to be in good health. 5 years ago, his supporters launched a social media campaign that boasted Sanders' propensity to fly with them. Bernie Sanders flies coach, one Twitter user wrote. He respects the money you give him and to spend it wisely. This is more than anything shows he's just an ordinary guy that any can relate to. Rival Elizabeth Warren also been criticized after she was recorded getting off a private plane earlier this month, which she did. She was blasted by arriving in Des Moines ahead of the Iowa caucuses. Sanders would lose the Democratic primary to Hillary in 2016, but he's atop of the crowded Dem pack following the Iowa caucus and New Hampshire primary. We're going to win because we have the agenda that speaks to the needs of the working people. Sanders edged Pete Buttigieg in the New Hampshire voting. Again, this is just amazing. People are idiots. Why do you want socialism so frickin' bad? Why? I don't know why, but I do have a way of maybe parsing this and maybe understanding it more. People don't understand it. You see, I grew up in the 80s. I know what socialism is. It's bad. I know what communism is. It's bad. Even coming to in today's world, I know what communism is. I know what socialism is. I see it on the streets every day. It is bad. And this a-hole wants to run the country, actually run it into the ground, destroy the country, all for what? Workers of the world unite? No. F you, Bernie Sanders. F you.